name is Arlene Gilliland and I'm the CEO at Destination Port Stephens. It's my pleasure to present a case study in our Small Business Big Impact program by Saffron, Quantrell. For the past 10 years publishing What's On in Our Backyard magazine, Saffron has built a strong community of followers on social media, which has grown to become a trusted source of local and visiting families to Port Stephens. What's On in Our Backyard has adapted quickly to address the many challenges we have recently faced, providing an online and mobile-friendly solution to parents looking for information on local events, activities, sporting events, clubs and classes and so much more. As this is a pre-recorded session, Saffron will be available to answer your questions by using the chat function throughout the duration of the presentation. No need to wait until the end of the session. This recording will also be made available on this platform for another 3 months, should you wish to share with your clients and colleagues who weren't able to join us here today. This session is proudly sponsored by Destination Port Stephens. Hello, my name is Arlene Gilliland and it's a pleasure to be here today for our case study with Saffron Quantrell from What's On in Our Backyard. Saffron will share her personal experience and insights into how she used social media to build brand awareness and to connect with the local community. Welcome, Saffron, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's great to have you join us, and thank you for sharing your story with us all. Saffron, I just want to start off. I think it'd be great if you could just, for those who do not know you personally, probably not many in Port Stephens, can I ask you to start by giving us a little of your story, please, about how you ended up in as a small business owner in Port Stephens?
Sure. To cut a long story quite short, because it's a long story, but I've actually been in sales and marketing for 17 years now. I came to Port Stephens, came to Australia 14 years ago, and I actually came out of a job in the UK selling advertising, and I swore that I would never do that again because I loved it at first. Like, it was an amazing job, got big bonuses. But then I just got burnt out. So when I came to Australia, I actually always wanted to work with children. So I got into family daycare, which not a lot of people know. And I loved working with children. But during that time, I realised that there was kind of so much to do in Port Stephens, but nowhere really that you could find all that information all in one place that was up to date. It was very much, there was out-of-date stuff here, and it was just all over the place. So the initial idea was to start a directory for families, but just thought that might be a bit boring because there's so many directories, and another directory, it's like, who wants that? So yeah, the idea came to fruition. I met another local parent in one of our play groups, and we put our heads together and we came up with the idea for What's On in Our Backyard magazine. And really, it was almost a little bit like, for me, a hobby at first because I was already doing family daycare. But then it kind of just grew organically into what it is today. And it's been, the magazine, this will be its 10th year, so it's a 10-year birthday this year. So
that's exceptional, particularly in publishing as well, because we do see a lot of publications come and go. So, having really good connection with your audience has made you being able to be around for 10 years, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the key to the success of the magazine has been not just the magazine, but that social media element, because basically you can connect with people at any time. And I think the success of the magazine has been that it's run by local people. We know our local community. We walk in the parks. We use, we visit local attractions. Our children go to local schools. So it's always been very much a community-minded and community-based magazine and website. So, and the catalyst, I think, for the success as well has been, in a big way, social media.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. That led me into my next question. How important has social media been for you in building your brand awareness of your magazine and connecting with the local community?
It's been huge. We've got there's over 8,000 followers now, which is huge for a local business. And I think, you know, particularly with what's happened this year, being able to engage with followers at a time when they're looking for information is really key to the success of the magazine. It also means that, you know, if I've got ideas for the magazine, I can ask for feedback. So I can ask my audience of over 8,000 followers, what do you want? Because, I mean, I have great ideas all the time. I think they're great. I think they're great. But then when you actually ask the people that are reading the magazine or looking for information, then that's where you get the real juice and the real feedback, and that's when you can develop, you know, ideas from people that you know want that, you know, want what you're offering. So
it helps you.
Really important.
So it helps. Sorry, Saffron. It helps you ensure that your content is relevant and what they're looking for. So by using your audience, you're able to continue to make sure you are delivering a product that's relevant and people are wanting to engage with it and it's delivering what they're looking for. So that's amazing feedback. Just a question, you know, a lot of people are using social media today, and there is a lot of skill involved in social media and using it really effectively, and how you can build your communities and continue to engage with them. How did you develop your social media skills?
I think at the start, I mean, it grew really organically very quickly, and it was because without even knowing it, I knew who my audience was. I knew who my ideal customer was. And at the start, my kind of ideal customer, I guess, was me, because I'm a local parent. I wanted to find information. I couldn't find it, so I delivered that in form of a magazine. But what that also meant was, you know, that magazine's funded by advertisers. So by putting together the magazine, the social media and the website, I created a platform for local advertisers whose core sort of ideal customer, I guess, are local families. So places like local attractions and, you know, even the places where families go, like the libraries, workshops, arts and crafts, sports. So yeah, I mean, that's been, yeah.
You know that I work in tourism here, so I'm aware of all the tourism attractions, and I've been here for just over 2.5 years. And when I have people come and visit me with children, I actually use your website and your social media if they're looking for things for children to do outside of the everyday tourist attractions. You know, we've got lots of people to do, obviously. But when they're looking for other things, I actually have accessed your site for that information myself, which has been amazing. Thank you. Could you just share with us what has been the best part of being a small business in Port Stephens?
It's just like, I feel a lot of the time like I'm giving back to the community. I mean, to be able to engage the local community and the local sort of audience of people that want what you have to offer. For me, I find that really rewarding because I'm part of the local community, and to be able to give back in that way has been really important for me, and to be able to build, you know, an audience like I have, and then, you know, I get people sending me questions all the time, asking me for information. People send me messages saying that, you know, the magazine and the Facebook page are like their local Bible for information. So yeah, I think that's been the main thing, is it's been really rewarding.
So you really wanted to get involved in the local community, so to develop a business enabled you to do that. And also from a passion of what you were looking for as well.
So it was never about the money for me. That's just a side effect of what I've grown over the years, and, you know, I've worked with many other local businesses as well. So from the success of the magazine, I actually did some business development courses a few years ago. And because I think with social media, you have to be constantly learning. You know, you can't think you know something and then leave it at that, because particularly with, you know, with Facebook, everyone knows that it works on algorithms, and they're always changing. So I think one of the most important things that I can kind of get across to people building their brand and social media is that you've just got to make sure that you continue that education and continue that learning process, because I think as long as you know who your audience is, because for example, TikTok. I haven't got my head around that one yet, but I think when you understand your audience and you know where they hang out, and by hang out, I mean what social media platforms they hang out on. You know, for people selling products, things like clothing, for example, you'd probably lean more towards Instagram. TikTok, like I say, that's an education for me that I haven't had yet.
Yeah, I haven't been involved in using TikTok either, but it can be used in a lot of ways, really to connect in another way, and those short videos are an amazing way of doing it.
And I mean, what I would say is that the way I got my head around Instagram, because that was only a few years ago I started on Instagram for what's on in our backyard, I asked my teenage son, I said, set me up, because that's more of a, like, Instagram a few years ago was very much a younger audience.
Yes, definitely, I agree with you.
So if you're looking at a more of a younger audience, ask a young person.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you there. Also, Instagram has just grown, over the last, 5 to 6 years. You see a lot more brands on there, and a lot more people using Instagram to, it's about sharing your stories and that profiling your business through it. And I think it's a really strong platform as well.
It's a really good space for people selling products.
Yes, it is. It's amazing because you can showcase your products on there, and if you do it well, you can end up with a really strong following. Some of the big brands out there have done amazing jobs, and I've also seen smaller brands do it as well and do it really, really well.
And that's what I suggest to people as well, is if you want to do something well, look at what other people are doing in your kind of industry. Like, look at the people that are doing really well, and model that kind of behaviour. I think that's very important as well, is just looking around and look at who you look up to. So if you've got a business, for example, again, selling clothing, and you look up to Karen Millen, for example, look at what that Instagram page is doing, and look at what influencers are doing. And if you don't have time to do all that, get someone that's an expert in social media and hand it over to them, even if it's just to get it started on the right foot.
And to help you do a plan of how you need to use these channels. I think that is really, really important. That's great advice. The other thing is, I think you need to look at brands that might be targeting a similar target audience as well. So there's no point if you're selling products that are really geared to people over 50 and you're looking at a site that's targeting under 25.
That's right.
So really looking at it, and I think it's important also to be constantly doing those things, and I call it social listening, and seeing what your competitors are doing on a regular basis. And I think it's really important, and I think when you do that, you'll always be on the forefront of things as well.
Yeah, that's right. Years ago when I started What's in Our Backyard magazine, I didn't have a plan. I'm quite organised person, but I didn't have a plan. It was all kind of just off the cuff kind of stuff. Luckily, the lady that I worked with was very organised. I'm more artistic, creative, and she was more organised. We worked really well together, and I'm very grateful for that partnership. But what I would say now to people is, before you start any kind of social media campaign, just sort of know what your goal is, know who your audience is, and take a lot of time building it's called an avatar, your customer persona, your ideal client. Really kind of understand how they're thinking in order to get the right message to that ideal customer. So that's what I've learned along the way, and that's been really, really valuable for me.
By delivering the right messages to the right target audience, you're going to get greater engagement. And that will build, and people also then will share in their audiences, which is a really key thing.
Right.
That's what we're all after in social media, is getting people to share our content for us to increase our distribution.
And don't be afraid to experiment as well, because I think I've tried a lot of things over the years, and then you get to see what works, what doesn't work. And it's also a good tip to actually, once you find things that are working, just go over your Instagram or your Facebook, whatever you're using, and delete the things that have got really low engagement. Delete that, and then you're left with all the really good stuff. So you've got social media pages that look really engaged most of the time.
That's a great tip, because then you'll actually gain people that will actually follow you when they see that. So if they see the content's really engaging, it's got a lot of people engaging with that content and of interest, then they'll actually then follow you, and that's the whole objective. You do want followers, so if you can grow those followers through that, that's a great objective to adhere to. So.
Another tip.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
Waffle, but another tip I've got.
This is great. Thank you for sharing the all.
Yeah, no, another tip. I mean, I did a lot of Facebook advertising, and Facebook advertising works, but it's very, you know, if you're doing Facebook advertising and you haven't got an expert doing it, it's very time consuming. You have to do a lot of, it's a lot of trial and error. But yeah, what I've learned is that you can get really good results without spending a penny. So
organic.
Ask me.
Fantastic. Well, we will be available later today to give people a few tips on hopefully they'll come and talk to you. Yeah, it is important. I think that a lot of people just start, I think, understanding who your audience is, how you're going to reach that audience, but then also looking at your content and having a content plan of how you're going to do that. And, you know, your images, your headlines, your copy, they're all key things. And it's really important. And I think to test things, what works better than others, because you will see you'll get greater reactions. And if you test a couple of different ideas, the one that works the strongest, if you are going to do any paid Facebook advertising to build your audiences, you know which one's going to work the best for you. And I think they're really great things for people to do.
Right. That's what I always tell people is, you know, just because people often come to me and say, like, because I mean, businesses that advertise in the magazine, I also post on my social media pages. I post their messages so that they can reach that targeted audience. But they often ask me, well, what kind of content should I post? And I always say to them, just look at what's most engaging on your own social media pages, but also think about the audience. So the people that look at what's on in our backyard Facebook page, they, you know, they want to find out information for that. They're looking for information for their families that's relevant to them and their children. So that's the message that you need to get across. So it's just, it's simple really when you think about it, isn't it?
Well, it is. There are a lot of people, if you don't think about it, then you're not going to get it right. So I think a lot of people just need to really take that on board. And it's also in the tone of how you speak to a family is very different than if you're speaking to a professional person that's looking for something totally different. So I think it's all in that, and how you write your content will also, you know, be led by who you're speaking to.
That's right. That's a really good point, because I think, you know, what I'd say to a lot of people is just keep it really human and keep it really conversational. But again, that depends on the industry that you're in. If you're a professional, if you're a lawyer, for example, you know, the way you talk in your posts might be slightly differently to how I would talk in my posts to local families. So, and I think one tip I gave someone recently is just write as if you're having a conversation with someone. Try and keep it human. And it's funny because what's on in our backyard Facebook page is very different to the Instagram page, account that I've got for the magazine, because what I found was with what's on in our backyard Instagram, people just want to see lovely photos of the local area from the perspective of a local that lives here. They're not, you know, I'm not a professional photographer,
I get it.
but that's what they want to see. I've tried to put other posts in, and they're like flyers and stuff like that, and even pictures of me, but they don't want to see it.
In working in tourism, Instagram, social media is a very important platform for us as well, and obviously imagery is key. But it is that user-generated content that comes through your Instagram, and people use your hashtag that people really want to see. It's not us putting up a bunch of images constantly. It's that user-generated content, but also making sure the user-generated content that we share on our platform fits with our brand and what we're trying to achieve as well. So I think that's something that people need to look at as well. Fantastic, thank you. Just wanted to ask you, recently it's been a very challenging time for everybody. I think COVID-19 has really impacted not only on our local businesses, but also on our way of life. And it's going to continue. We're going to continue to be impacted by that. What has been the most challenging part of your small business during this time?
I think the most challenging thing was initially, so I think lots of people have gone through lots of different emotions. And so initially it was, I've spent 10 years, building up this business, because your business is like your baby. You spent 10 years nurturing this baby, and all of a sudden it seemed like, because obviously I couldn't distribute that magazine during the pandemic. So I had a moment where I felt like I'd worked all these years and where's it all going to go? But the thing with me is that, I just brush myself down and then start thinking, okay, what do people need right now? What do they want? It's always about those, what do they want? What do they need? And again, I asked my online audience, and over the last sort of 6 months, I've developed an online version of the magazine. The first one, the feedback I got was it wasn't mobile friendly enough. So the second one that I did, because it's every quarter, so the second one that I did, I made it so that it's completely mobile friendly, easy to read on mobile phones. That's what most people use now to, surf the internet and look at social media, etc. So yeah, the challenge was just not letting those negative thoughts get the better of me, and just then going, right, what do I do about it? How do I develop so that I'm still providing a service to people that people need? Because during the pandemic, like more than ever, people were looking for information like quickly.
They were, and I think it was a time where it was hard to collate that information too, because businesses were opening different hours or not opening at all. There was just so many challenges during that real lockdown time that happened between the end of March and the 1st of June. I was aware that you actually did provide a lot of support to other local businesses in Port Stephens during that time, particularly once they started to open up. And helping them to promote, that they're open, if it was a restaurant, they're open for takeaways, all of that type of thing. Can you just tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I just decided that that I was going to think about I wasn't thinking about the business side of things. I was thinking about, what I could do to help people through this as much as I could. And that's, I've got a platform where people can get the message out really quickly, and that's the great thing about social media. And there was, for many of my advertisers, there was no cost involved for that. I just looked at it in terms of, especially like long-term advertisers, it was just a case-by-case thing that I looked at, and some people were really struggling. So for me, it wasn't like, right, who am I going to get money out of? It was like, who can I help the most? And who can I support during this time? Because there was a lot of emotions running high. A lot of people were really struggling. And going back to the point that I just heard you make in people looking, something along the lines of looking on Facebook for information, what I would, a recommendation that I've got for businesses is that, especially because during the pandemic, you wanted to know who was opening and what were they doing, and that changed really, really quickly.
It did.
Yeah, and the first thing people do is they go to your Facebook page and they try and find out information about, is that business open? Pin it to the top of your page. There's that facility where you can pin important messages to the top of your Facebook page. So if you're now open on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from 9 till 5, whatever it might be, that important information that people want to know first. Otherwise, you're scrolling, like, I can't, and then you have to pick up the phone. It's like people want things instantaneously.
That's a great opportunity, and also you can use that when you're doing special things as well. So if you're running a special, say you're a tour operator, a special tour that you've got on that month, or, you know, the school holidays, you're running a special program, you know, that's relevant just that school holiday period. Obviously, I'm relating it back more to a tourism because that's what I work in. But, you know, for other businesses, if you've got a sale on at the moment, or, you know, whatever you're doing, or you might be releasing a new product, I think, you know, you should pin it to the top so that your followers would know immediately. And that's a fantastic tip.
Yeah. Pin it to the top. And if you're running a competition or a giveaway or something like that, and it's on Facebook, only run it for 2 days. Because you'll get most of your engagement obviously in the first day. So you can go into your Facebook Insights and you can look at the times of the day when people are engaging with your content, post it at that time, pin it to the top of the page, tell people that the competition is running for 2 days, and then you know, the day, I'd say probably the morning that is about to end, post it again. Like I'll get a massive engagement on my page for competitions. So I'm running one on there at the minute. It's pinned to the top of the page.
I saw that yesterday.
I'm following my own advice. Yeah, it's a fantastic giveaway, but it's got massive engagement. You know, I mean, when I last looked, it had reached, I think, 2,500 people. Nearly 200 post engagements, which is massive.
That's very strong.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're running competitions or giveaways or stuff, just make it last a couple of days, because the longer it's on there, the more you go from here to here. And you know, but social media is very instantaneous. People see it, they'll take action, they'll move on to the next thing. Did you know that people scroll height of the Empire State Building every day?
Really?
A fun fact for you.
We're going to end up with a lot of RSI, I think, from scrolling, aren't we? Look, we're just about out of time, so I just quickly, is there any further advice or words of encouragement that you'd like to share with our group today on using social media to build your brand?
Create Facebook groups. I mean, Facebook groups, to me, I feel I built a Facebook, well, I started a Facebook group called Real Women of Port Stephens, and I started that group about 2 years ago. And the great thing about Facebook groups is, like, don't try and sell in the groups, but you can place yourself as the local expert. You can elevate your status in the local community. Like for me, that group meant that everyone seems to know me. Like people coming up to me that I didn't even know and saying, "Oh yeah, you started that group." And what you can then do is use that group to ask for feedback, for ideas that you've got. You can, you know, Facebook groups.
That's a great one. Thank you so much. And when I first came here, I actually joined that group because I found it very helpful for myself as well, being new to the area. Look, Saffron, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been very informative, and we really appreciate your time contributing to the growth of business in Port Stephens. I'm sure everyone's enjoyed listening to your tips and everything that you're able to provide today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope it was useful. Bye for now.
Bye for now.